you've been talking about an AI bubble for quite a while. As a matter of fact, we talked last over a year ago now, and we were talking about it back then. Um, my thought, I just want your distinction here because like everything's in a bubble, right? Everything's always a bubble, but like which point of the bubble are we in? And so when I look at the AI bubble compared to say like the dot-com bubble, when the dot-com bubble burst in 2000. It seemed like, yeah, back then we had a problem where, because the technological cycle that we were in, we had overbuilt demand, or we had overbuilt supply. There was all the websites, but there was no demand. Nobody was online buying anything. In 2000, less than 10% had people had ever bought anything, and so you had all these webband.com, pets.com, but nobody could use those, and so of course the bubble burst. It seems like today two things are happening with the AI bubble. Number one, we can't keep up with the demand. It seems like the demand is moving faster than we can keep up with for a number of reasons, maybe CapEx spends, but also just raw materials, energy, data centers, et cetera, are also holding that back as well. So it seems like we're not growing near fast enough for demand, which seems to me different than .com. So how are you looking at it? What are your signs to show you it is in a bubble and you think that bubble's getting close to bursting?
A lot of people talk about, the pets.com and all those stocks that kind of went to zero. There was a other huge infrastructure build going on during the dot-com days, which was the telecom infrastructure build out, the dark fiber. And a lot of the market cap was in those companies, the Ciscos, the Nortels, the Lucents, the WorldComs, et cetera. And that was an infrastructure build. And then that was uh, it was too much infrastructure for the amount of supply and profits that were available. A lot of these new telecom companies use the junk bond markets to float their valuations. They showed tremendous amount of growth, just like AI is, but they ended up not making any money because there was a glut of dark fiber. That ended up being a good thing because that collapsed. That dark fiber didn't go away and was recapitalized at pennies on the dollar. And then the internet took off. And, quite frankly, Apple's smartphone benefited from the amount of dark fiber that was laid during the dot-com boom. In the AI, there is a demand, but what's the demand? The demand is, and just like in the dot-com days, every brick and mortar company felt threatened by the dot-com phenomenon and the fact that these online company stocks were accelerating while the brick and mortar stocks were going down. So every Fortune 500 company spent money on a dot-com pilot, and so that created a lot of revenue for a lot of these companies. Similar situation, everybody has an AI pilot, and what we're finding is they're now questioning the return on investment, and token pricing exploded in the first quarter of this year. And so a lot of people that were using the token maxing situation are now readjusting and saying, hey, that's a little too expensive. And now there's price competition, and there's talk of price cuts from Zuckerberg. OpenAI threatened price cuts. They want to go public. And then we have the China DeepSeek models that people are using because a lot of people are finding out they don't need the frontier model. They need the model that's 3 or 4 months behind at much cheaper prices, and it's good enough. So we're kind of, and then one of the other gating factors on the infrastructure build out is power and water. It's just not there. So let's say there is demand. There's not enough power to meet that demand. So CapEx will pause, which would cause a lot of the valuations of the companies that are benefiting to go down. And the companies that are really benefiting are the pick and shovel guys, the semiconductor companies, Nvidia, Micron, the memory guys. And we just saw Micron go from a 60 billion market cap to a 1 trillion market cap. Now, I wish in hindsight I had figured that out. I didn't think that these companies would continue to do this kind of crazy infrastructure build into what is looking notoriously like a commodity-like industry at the moment.
If you hold Bitcoin, I want you to think about something just for a second. Not how you store it, but who gets it when you're gone. Most self-custody Bitcoiners have never tested if their family could access it if they were gone. Knowing where the keys are isn't the same as knowing how to use them. That's a technical side. But what they most often miss is the legal side. So even if your family found the keys and they knew how to use them, there's no legal structure telling them the Bitcoin is theirs or how it's supposed to pass to them. You see, Bitcoin that isn't properly retitled and documented could end up in probate. So it's not one problem, it's two. Yes, can your family physically access it, but is there a legal framework that says it's theirs? So if you want to find out, take a short 2-minute quiz and get your inheritance readiness score. Just go to unchained.com/Mark Moss. Again, that's unchained.com/Mark Moss. And it's definitely worth 2 minutes to find out that it's actually handled or not. I understand what you're saying in the token maxing, and maybe some of the prices are going to come down because they want to go public, maybe they gain more market share, et cetera. But then you also then sort of pivoted into, but we do have those supply constraints. And so if we are slow rolling the rollout because of commodity supplies, both in energy, raw materials, whether that's copper, et cetera, or it's energy, they don't have enough energy or water, whatever it is. I mean, doesn't that slow it down enough from accelerating too fast? And then, so that number one. And then number two, you said some of these companies, not the frontier companies, so not the LLM providers, but then some of the microchip companies like Micron or Nvidia. But I thought you were also calling Nvidia sort of like the Cisco of this year, sort of a thing.
Well, so, if you look at what's going on in the AI complex, Nvidia's kind of gone nowhere quietly over the last 3 to 6 months. It's getting cheaper on a PE ratio because this is something people need to understand about semiconductors. I was a tech investor back when I ran a growth fund. When semiconductors are cheap on PE, the market's telling you it's peak earnings and peak margins quietly. And usually you want to buy semiconductor companies at trough margins and when they're losing money, if you want to play the cycle 100% correct. Right now, even if there is a CapEx pause, Nvidia will miss numbers, Micron will miss, all these companies that have really benefited from the acceleration of the infrastructure build will go down. And right now, the semiconductor index is 19% of the S&P 500. So there's a lot of market. The way people have been playing the AI infrastructure build is through mostly semiconductors. And some of the Mag 7. The Mag 7 have quietly started to underperform because of their cash flow is starting to go negative, and they're investing tons and tons of CapEx into the AI infrastructure build. And the market's saying, hey, maybe the ROI here is not going to be as good. So the market's starting to bifurcate a little bit here. So the Mag 7 are being punished for their CapEx build, whereas before, last year, every time they announced a CapEx raise, their stock was rewarded. And recently, Goldman Sachs came out and said that the credit market, remember, the credit markets are funding most of this build out. And what ended the party in the dotcom boom was the credit market said no mas. They just said no more. And so the bond guys are going to end the party, not the equity folks. The bond guys always end the party. And Goldman Sachs came out this week and basically said they think that the amount of supply of bonds needed to raise capital for the infrastructure build out is going to be difficult to place because fixed income investors are questioning the return on investment. So the bond market will determine what's really going to happen here.